Good evening, wonderful viewers. It's 9 p.m. in Banjul. This is yet another interesting edition of the Youth Dialogue with me, Julden Jai. And it's the 2nd of October, also known as Pink Month or Breast Cancer Awareness Month. As you know, this is a month dedicated to women who have breast cancers. This is a month dedicated to reproductive health, women's rights, and all that. So I'm urging each and every woman out there to go get themselves screened, because breast cancer is becoming so prevalent in the world, because a staggering 2.3 million cases are registered annually. So that is a lot. You know, before you can be a victim, I can be a victim, any one of us out there can be a victim. But the only way to get safe from this is to get yourself screened and to know your status. And this is the best month, this is the best opportunity to actually get yourself screened. You can get yourself screened in almost all the health facilities in the country here. You know, it's better than to know your status than to just sit down and then not know, and then you know, you're accumulating diseases and all of that, and it is a very dangerous disease. So this is, like I mentioned, is yet another edition of the Youth Dialogue. Last week we had a very interesting and engaging one with my people here, Baba and Matida, and of course Osman, leadership. And this time we are also talking about youth movement for civic education, from leadership to civic education. You see the interconnection between leadership and youth civic education, because it has a lot to do with civic education. A lot of things are going wrong around the world because of lack of civic education. So to create, help me create that awareness, I'm joined by two gentlemen who happen to be Yunusa Sambo, who is the chairperson of the Youth Movement for Civic Education, and of course on my right I am joined by Lamin Kejame, who is the head of teacher coordinators at the Youth Movement for Civic Education. Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome to the Youth Dialogue.
Good evening. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for honoring my invitation.
It's a pleasure.
So for the benefit of me and the listeners out there and those who are watching, mind telling us what is the Youth Movement for Civic Education? Why was it established? When was it established? And the rationale behind the establishment of the movement?
Yeah, thank you so much, Julde, for the question. It's funny how the organization started. If I tell you, you may not believe. While I was going to school, that's where the initiative concepts comes. And then it was like I was in my early grade 11 where the WhatsApp page was created. And moving from school then to the Gambia College, where I met my beautiful brother, Lamin K. Jame. And there we come together and said, okay, this initiative is good, but why not we try to register it? So having them by me, you know, we decided to come together. And then first we decided to visit National Council for Civic Education, Yusuf Bojang, who is very instrumental and not letting him out for this. Give us the guide that tell us that this is what we need to do. So following that, we did that, and alhamdulillah, we were able to register. It was registered in 2019. From there, we decided to also visit back a National Council for Civic Education, knowing that they are the ultimatum body that is known by the Act of National Assembly. But we also have the strategy of meeting schools, establishing civic clubs there. However, we decided to meet the Minister of Basic and Secondary Education to have that MOU with them, wherein we will have civic clubs in schools. So having with the help of the Anti-Corruption Coalition Gambia, with a project that they asked us to run with, there we intend to expand the civic clubs from Region 1 to Region 6. And with the dialogue of the teachers and also the heads in various school students, with the anticipation that they want civic education to come back. I could vividly remember the then Mr. Marong of Muslim, when we find him in Muslim, he told me, whether ministry like it or not, I am really going to start civic education by next year. That's supposed to be by 2022, but we told him that inshallah, ministry also put up things that, you know, they will come up with that. So alhamdulillah, we are proud. We would not say we spearheaded or we champion, but we can say we're also part of the people that also push to the extent that civic education is introduced in the school. And this year is the first year the students start for the exams of civic education in their grade 12. Yeah.
So you stated that the initiative started way back in 2019.
Yes.
But what was the rationale behind that? What triggered that? Okay, you guys started off with a WhatsApp group chat, and then eventually you saw the need to actually register this very important movement. What triggered that?
Yeah, looking at it, I think I was doing government. So in government, I feel like people need to know what actually their responsibility and their duty is about. So understanding that, I said, wow, so what I have to do is using that platform to educate them that we all not need to depend on the government by saying the government have to do this, government have to do that. I can remember this proverb, in literature that always helped me to say, you teach your child how to catch a fish instead of giving him a fish every day. So I am like, before I always depend on the government, or before I keep depending on my parents, what can I do for my country? What can I do for my parents? So understanding this, I said, okay, so it better we come up into something that we will try to sensitize and enlighten the people so they can able to know about their duties and their responsibility. In most of the time, when people ask me during interview, I tell them, in Gambia, in Africa, kids that are even yet to be born, or kids that are even less than 3 months, they already know their rights. But now the problem is we don't know our responsibility. Everybody talks about right, but what is your responsibility? That's a question mark. Which is why when we come together, with the support of my able men, the likes of Lamin Sedi and others, we also decided to come up into this so we can sensitize people about their civic duties, responsibility as well. Yeah.
So you sure that? So what you're telling me is the fact that okay, Africa, we know our rights, but
yes,
it's the responsibility or the duties
that
we don't know. Is that so? Because a lot of things are happening around the country and in Africa, and it doesn't seem to me that actually they know their rights and responsibilities. So talk to us about some of the rights of the citizens, especially in a democratic space.
Thank you very much. We are saying a very big thank you to the leadership of QTV and then also the Youth Dialogue crew for giving us this space to come and have this wonderful conversation. Now, coming back to your question, part of the rights of a citizen is for us to pay our tax, because it is the tax that is helping the government to bring the school that which we all advocate for, the hospital, good road, and also electricity. The list goes on. So when we don't pay our tax, it will be very much difficult for the government to be able to implement some of the objectives that they want to do in the country. So aside from that, also education, very, very much important, because no nation can be developed in the absence of quality education. So, and then this is something that which is also at some point affecting the country. When you look at the quality that which we are all yearning for, at some point it is a question mark. So it is very much important for us to know, both the parents and also the kids and also stakeholders, for them to know education is a basic right for all the people that are living, because in that you will be able to empower yourself. And also coming also into the health aspect, shelter. So the list goes. So all of these are things that which it is our right, and sometimes as a result of less engagement in regards to these civic matters, we tend to think some of these are privileges that is the government needs to give us. Some of these are not privileges.
Exactly. That's why I asked the question, because a lot of people tend to mix privileges and rights. So that's why I when he said that a lot of people know their rights, I was like, okay, I think it would be nice for people to really know what their rights are. That is why I'm asking you this question. What are the rights of the people? Because there is a thin line between rights and privileges.
Sure. Yeah, so to continue on again, when we also check, looking at, let's say for instance, we said during the Jawara's regime, for the whole of 33 years, we were unable to have university, which also retarded the Gambia a lot. And when after Jawara's regime, we also have Jammeh's regime. And then Jammeh's regime was also very authoritative. To an extent, people sometimes even think that we should demand from the government. We are always afraid to do those things. So now that is why during Barrow's regime, we are saying we are in new democracy, but even with that, at some point people don't understand certain things. So that is why we thought it very wise to also have this foundation to also continue to educate people about our rights and also our responsibilities, and sometimes even certain things that which we claim to be our rights, sometimes how we also execute them become wrong. So that being the case, this foundation is here to also empower people to better know their rights and also responsibilities and duties to the nation.
So he did mention the fact that, you know, citizens have a right to education, basic needs, but also the responsibilities. And I know that a lot of time people tend to focus on the responsibilities that the state owed to them, but not the rights that they have. So when it comes to the responsibilities of individuals, especially towards their countries and their communities, what would it be?
Yeah, looking at the community level, that it's a basic fundamental place where one can start. Okay. We will say it, for instance, if I am seeing in my community there are these roads that definitely it need to be reinstalled, and I don't have to expect the government to come and reinstall those roads for me, but rather it's my responsibility to do that, because this is why I gave you the proverb which says, you know, you teach your child how to catch a fish instead of giving him a fish every day. So it is always very important for citizens to understand that things that are within your surrounding, you don't need to wait for anybody to come outside and do it for you. So the moment you started understanding it, it's going to be always easier for you to take it down to the national level. But I always tell this to people that always responsibility starts from home.
Okay.
Okay, you understanding that responsibility starts from home. What do you do at home? Are you seeing something that needed to be meant at home? Don't wait for my sister, don't wait for my brother, don't wait for any of my siblings, don't wait for mother to tell me do this. Let me do it because it is my duty and it is my responsibility to mend that. So understanding that, then you will realize that if you go to the community, the society, this is what you are going to do. So if you go to the national level, if I know this chair really belongs to the national people, and I'm seeing that definitely where I am seeing it, it's going to be spoiled. I don't need to wait for any other person to come and do it or to come and place it for me properly, but rather I have to protect it. But then if you look at Gambia, I mean, what I'm saying is some people will see that this belongs to the nation, but they will say, it's not my business, this is my own. So what I have to do is like to protect what I own, but what I don't own is the responsibility of the government or to protect that, or the state. So if the state, for instance, a school or a university, is not being protected by the people that own it, who else is going to protect it? Because it's not the president. And we are the people that are really the government. Government do not make itself. This is why Abraham Lincoln will say it's the government of the people and for the people and by the people. So we institute that government. So any property that is owned by everybody, it is my responsibility to protect and to guide that property so it's not go spoil. Yeah.
So how about the responsibility of the state towards the people, the citizens now?
Yes, it is a big responsibility of the state towards the people, like providing of water, especially clean water for that matter, and also providing them with educations, and then also, as Lamin said here earlier, health also is very important, because these are, and also infrastructure, electricity and so on. So these are all responsibilities that the government should provide to the citizens. But it's also the responsibility of the citizens. If the government provides you electricity, it is your responsibility to take care of that electricity. Some of us, what we normally do is, if I buy my cash power, they don't understand that not only it is not only your responsibility to buy cash power and then you leave the appliance to continue, you know, lighting like that. No. Because the electricity also has what we call a voltage that it needs to carry. So if it carries more than what it's supposed to carry, some people are going to in another way lack electricity somewhere else. And then talking about schools, like if you go to schools, I do tell kids that I normally teach. I mean, there are some desks that you know, they are really spoiled. And who spoiled them? It's not the teachers, it's not the principal, but it's the students. So those students should be able to understand that those desks, they should be protected by them, the students who are using it. So if those students are able to understand that the desk should be protected by us as the students, then if they see anything outside there, they will protect it. So these are all responsibilities that the duties of the government that they should provide to the citizens. So that proper education, the government should give it to us. But also when they give us that proper education, we should be able to protect it. So that if I am not there, I mean, somebody else can able to come and then go with it. Rome says, if you come to Rome, you behave about Rome. So, if you come and see that, look, this, the way I find it, if I cannot make it better than that, let me leave it like the way I find it. Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, it's very important at this point because you see a lot of people sometimes, then they want, okay, government be, then I'm a responsibility to the people, the state have a responsibility to the people, but the people also have a responsibility towards the state. Where do we strike a balance here? Because do you feel that in the Gambia, the state is respecting the rights of the people, or is it fulfilling the responsibility to the people?
Thank you very much for that wonderful question. So first, to start with, the state at some point is fulfilling their responsibility, but also when you also we take example of security aspect, you will see a full police station, no gun, and then and all the ministers that which we are having, their personal bodyguards are all having gun with them, and then so we may say, but the state do not have that resources to be able to do all those needs for all the police stations. But also, like in Manega, we said, so if we continue saying this, and the state had that resources, the state had that power, they should be able to do some of these things. And then when you check, let's say for instance, some of the police stations that we are having, and then they are the one that help the various communities in protecting. So now if those stations are not mobile, if those stations are not even fully protected, I could remember there was a time I was crossing to Bara, so I went to the station in Gambia Port Authority. So I wanted to drop something there. Then from there I crossed. Then from there I come because I was with my motorbike. So I wanted to drop my helmet and also jacket there. So they told me, even here ourselves we are not safe because sometimes even our phone, some people will come and they will steal it. So when you look at that aspect, if a police station is not also secure, I wonder how those people that are also living in our various compounds will also be secure. And when we also come and when we also check in the aspect of health also, health is also a very very fundamental thing that none of us can go in the absence of. But sometimes it is very sympathetic. You go to a hospital, they will give you paracetamol, and the rest of the medicine they will go to the pharmacy. And then sometimes those people that are directing you to go to the pharmacy are the very people that own those pharmacies. And then the government is done that sometimes provide some of those materials. But you go to government hospitals, you don't find some of those materials there. But you go to this pharmacy or private hospital, you find some of those ones there. So these are things that the government need to adjust on. When also check, let's say for instance, water. For Bundung, where sometimes I usually stay, it is very rare you see water during the day. In fact, there are certain compounds, some of the kids, they have never seen water coming from their tap. Water usually come late at night, and then these people need to rest in the morning and then continue on their daily activities. So if at night, the whole night you spend that one searching for water, it is very sympathetic. But also us the citizens also have a big responsibility.
Like he mentioned, I mean, leaving taps open and all of that, littering, you know, that is not the president or the ministers or anybody to come and tell you, okay, you know that this is unlawful, but still we see people litter like no man's business. People litter anyhow, and they know it's illegal.
Yeah. That's a very big problem. Sometimes we also sit and then watch the government to do all. The government cannot also do all. Us, the citizens, also have a very huge responsibility in ensuring our places are clean, in ensuring the security that you are talking about. So sometimes you have someone who said, "Hey, Jamba Nori," and then you are eating something. Then from that you throw this salt there.
So then you might expect, okay, benna tax jokan ne to the area council. So area council ole bina jam fita. But it as a citizen, it a responsibility mumuneti.
Yeah. So it before coming to your question, I just want to add on what my boss is saying, Lamin K. Jame. Looking at the security is very fundamental. And we can all vividly recall these past 3-4 years back, you know, Gambia has been experiencing a lot of killings. And then you will see young people are being killed, and before you realize, you know, cases are not going anywhere. Or I can say people are not knowing how those cases are ending up. And it's very funny. Currently, we can see these two, you know, paramilitaries that has been killed, you know, and then their cases, the citizens are definitely interested to know how is this case going to end up. Because if I can recall, it's now approaching to 2 years, you know, since the case began. So if our own securities are really not secured, who are we, ordinary citizens, to be secured? So that is why it's very fundamental. And then looking at it, the government also should try to encourage what we call community policing. Working with the community policing.
I think they have been doing that now.
Yeah, but
a
then
lot of community
there are
policing.
a lot of laxes that are really there. You know, okay, having the initiative of saying that we are doing community policing, and then the lasting of that community policing, whether it is there, I mean, we need to question that.
Like you're talking about the effectiveness.
The effectiveness of the community policing. Yes, they have been initiating it, and they have been going to the people and tell them that you have to do ABC or stuff. And I think Talinding also started it, and they were doing effective during the COVID-19. I can recall when they said we have to go in for you know, curfew, that this also hours we have to go in at night, and then but then there are young people in Talinding that take up the responsibility, you know, that they have to go out to see these people that engage themselves into vandalism, you know, criminal stuff. They are eradicated completely in Talinding. So the government should try by all means to encourage people like those, you know, even not to pay them full-fledged, but at least you compensate them. So when you do that, you realize that they are also going to support the security, and they will have something out of it.
So right now, if I understand from what you are saying, all of you, is that both the state and the citizen have a responsibility, but all the state and the citizens are failing in their responsibilities. So what do we do now? Are we to go back to the drawing board now, all over, to start all over again? Because already we've identified that there is a problem. Both the state level and also the citizens, they are not fulfilling their responsibilities, you know, as it should. Where do we start from now? What do we do next?
Yeah, I can say we started somewhere. This is why the coming of civic education in schools is essential, is very important. I always say this, we can never change a matured stick, because if you want to force it, you'll cut it. So what you do is you have to tender, you know, the young bananas that are coming up, then you try to give them a shape that you want them to be. So in civic education, it's coming. It's now going to be the responsibility of this generation to be honest to themselves, because they are given the platform what they're supposed to know. Because the subject itself is teaching you about loyalty, about values, about norms, about, you know, loving your nation, patriotism, and other stuffs. So somebody who understands that as well, and I'm holding somebody accountable, and then you know that if I am working as a minister, where I am, the coffers belongs to the state. So even a single dime, I should not take it, because if I do, it's part of corruption. Because even the civic education, corruption is there. So I want to believe that if definitely the trajectory that we are talking about, the drawing board is already been made. So what is there is now to see how best we can project it to a better way. I am always saying this. The Gambia, of course, we will make it, and we will also go corruption-free one day or the other. Sure. I don't know how long it's going to be, whether it's going to find me here or it's not going to find me here. But through the introduction of civic education, most of the people are going to be honest, and they will be corrupt-free, inshallah.
So what are you doing at your own level? I know that you said that you have plans to decentralize this too, from Region 1 to Region 6, decentralization of the movement or the initiative. How broad is this whole initiative about, you know, civic education and all of that? Because a lot of things have been happening recently with the issue of the regazetting of the draft constitution, sure, and a lot of things that are happening security-wise, and a lot of things. How broad is your movement, and how effective is it? Because it's one thing to actually come up with a movement, but it's another to also ensure that it served the purpose.
Yeah, so thank you. In regards to that question, currently we are operating in all the regions of the Gambia because we have established civic club in almost about 100 plus schools, and then most of these clubs are currently functioning. So we do normally have pilot programs. When we implement it in region 1, the next is region 2, then going to other regions also, because we are also struggling with resource wise, but also we know with or without resources.
Is it self-funded? Are you not affiliated to the NCAC?
No.
NCCA?
NCCE.
NCCE? Are you not affiliated to them?
No, we are not affiliated to NCCE.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, but then, as I said earlier, they are aware of our establishment. And then when it comes to advice, they normally advise us. But as it stands right now, we have funding nowhere. Okay. So we are dependent from our pocket. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So to continue on, so we are operating in all the region. So our activities are usually on pilot basis. So immediately we are done with this, then we move into another one, because we believe with that we will all be proud to continue saying we are Gambians. That is why sometimes we usually say, when you ask a Senegal, the person will say, "Man Senegalese." But when you ask a Gambian, sometimes we are not proud for us to identify ourselves as Gambian. That is because civic is on something that which is lacking, and then for us to be able to cope with all these issues, we need to continue empowering civic education, because some of the content that we are even ahead of us, most of the developed countries are all having civic education in their system. And at one point in time, we are also having civics in our curriculum, but later on it was removed from the system. Government was also introduced, but yes, we still need civic in order for us to be able to continue discussing on issues that are affecting the nation and then having way forward.
So speaking of civic education and awareness creation, we live in a democratic space, and we know when we were in dictatorship how things were before and now how it is. And in a democratic space, in most cases, you have a lot of people protesting to show their grievances and all of that. So how can citizens work to address social and environmental issues in a democratic space?
Yeah, if people can only able to do that, already if they are aware of their civic responsibilities and their civic duties. Because you realize sometimes Gambians, the way they act is really in a wrong way, and they're supposed not to do that. Okay. You know, sometimes we always take things, or we only hear the noise, but we don't know what is the information about that noise, and we want to act according to that noise. So as far as civic education is concerned, it is saying you make sure you explore onto whatever you heard about before you act. It is normal for people to demonstrate if they see something that is not right. Like you can see the renewal of the, how to call it?
The judiciaries,
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That the young people come out in their large numbers to demonstrate, to say they don't want it. And alhamdulillah, the legislature was able to hear from them and they put it aside. So things like this is really good for a country. But then the other way around is, sometimes people do go and then want to demonstrate, and what are they demonstrating is the question. And at the end of the day, you also have some people that are bad people among them, that if they are going to, you know, do the demonstration, some are spoiling, some are looting, some are doing something that is really not expected from them. So that's why sometimes the democratic process sometimes is very difficult, because you can see among Gambians, some are deliberately insulting a president. And as far as civic education is concerned, it's saying a leader should not be insulted, you know, brutally, should be respected, no matter what the case it may be. You have a way that you can able to criticize your leader. This is why we don't go in for critics, but don't criticize. We always say go in for critics, because if you critic somebody, you tell the person, this is your fault, this is what you need to do to adjust yourself from the mistakes. But, you know, we always want to insult, and we don't want to, tell people what they should adjust on. So how can we hold precedents? Some people said, nakala mo na wahag president. You have open letters. You can write open letters, and then, of course, whatever the case it may be, the president can hear you. And the social media is there. We can tag, you know, to the State House. So if he cannot able to go through, but one day if you are persistent tagging, he must see your letters. And then if we are also going to demonstrate, let's demonstrate peacefully. demonstration is part of what we call democratic process. So Gambians should understand that. But then let us not do it in a negative way. The moment we do it in a negative way, we are setting ourselves backward. Yes.
Okay, that point there will take us to a commercial break. When we return, the program continues, to stay tuned.
In a place where conviction meets compassion, Heritage Christian University College stands tall, shaping futures and societies. Here, creativity isn't just a concept, it's the fuel for social change. But it's not just about entrepreneurship, it's about nurturing a spirit of service and community. We instill in our students the values of leadership and giving back. Our graduates don't just end degrees, they embody entrepreneurship, philanthropy, ethics, and global competence. Heritage is where innovation thrives amidst a serene environment, offering unparalleled experiences. Come, be part of our journey where creativity and community unite to shape a better tomorrow. Heritage Christian University College, educating compassionate entrepreneurial leaders.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is the Youth Dialogue with me, Julde Jai, and we are talking about civic education, the importance of it. And before we go for that short commercial break, you were talking about something very, very important. That is, how can citizens make their voices heard through peaceful protests and demonstrations. We know that a lot has been happening, especially during this democratic dispensation. A lot of protests, people are coming forward, you know, expressing their dissatisfaction in one thing or the other. But you mentioned something very important. You said, okay, social media is there, letters, open letters are there. I think that is where you stopped before we went to that commercial break.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So as I was saying earlier, we can hold the president or a government accountable. In different ways. Okay. So sometimes Gambians will think that it's very difficult for us to hold a government accountable because we are not there. And then some people will be like, no, in as much as I am not part of the National Assembly, I cannot able to. But I am telling you that all these things is not the case. So using this method that I have said, it's also very important. But however, you can also channel through your parliamentarian. Because probably if you see something that is really concern for the state, you can tell your parliamentarian, okay, for me, this is what I view, but I think you need to talk about A, B, C at the National Assembly. So people can able to hear about it, and then you should be able to debate about it. Because I have to give the thanks to Action 8. Looking at it, the gazetted, the about to be gazetted constitution, that is the draft constitution, you can see there are a lot of changes that was made there. And then people like me are really not happy because you cannot understand that the fundamental things of human, especially Gambians, those are some of the things that they have removed. Free education, you know, no matter what the case it may be. Yes, health may not be free, but education should be free to everybody. Because if you want to create something and you want to create a self-sufficient nation, you should be able to allow your citizens to do their education freely. Because if you want to compare with other countries, go there and check. Education, they don't joke with it. And Gambia is a developing country. We have people that you know, some of them are poor, some of them are rich, some of them cannot able to pay. In fact, they are school. So if you want to, punish those people and you don't know, you ask the president. Yesterday you were not rich. Because I can remember all our presidents that we have here in the Gambia. There is none of them in their biography that can tell me that I was a rich person before becoming a president. We have businessmen, but they are not up to that extent. So that is why it's always very important for the draft constitution, that is, if it is going to be gazetted, things like free education should be able to. So you can realize that Gambians, especially in my constituency, Latrakunda, through Action 8, we have expressed our feeling that we don't want the government to do this by using our National Assembly member so he can speak on our behalf.
On your behalf.
So all these things can happen.
That is even his role and responsibility. I think you mentioned a very important point there, because Molka Memira, okay, we are in a democratic space, so ninte fengo soto dorong wala disagree with the government dorong mansakunda nyanta kafintele ngang siso fay nga nendirol ke janambe bolol fay la janambe kuol ke la janambe bari amanke comme atoli ayita ni nyame amanke woti wo manke democracy ti wo manke civic awareness ti. And you know that right now tonyale mol bota in a very 22 long years of dictatorship, and all of that. And before say molka democracy understand fully, abe time talale, wala na nyun movement on nata youth movement for civic education. So I think for moleko the consequences that mol be men face la ni atare ye law nyim break andim fana ni lafta ka justice seek iba seek la no nyaade because mo jama malo be justice seek la no nyaade.
Very good. Thank you very much. And then ñenen karo minka kumaya batala. Anon pro ñemoli ol dol faham wana karon kumata jele. Anon karon ñim fana ñanta so ñala la sutia pro mol fana fama ya asotono. So in regards to ila ñenen karo ñu yalon that is why Gambia ku jamale bije mi yalon ko nyanta ke ake ibajal we can be able to adjust on ourselves because ning mol dol ke problem oda ma wala batarla kana sometimes nga ko do ke ya mera folen siloti watara maybe wo manke silot nem misal fe mo boyte kan ano amari yemin ka ni silo manta manyana ka luwa mutam bulo kono mfana na yeku ke mi yalon kabinete fana mantora ko very good so say nyanta ka muneke you know say sometimes ning kudo bi mi anka bakam banko kam makano dipte level marle luwa dal nga neta momo ni diamta dipte bada ni to fana dam mal benda e bo ko ni dol bondi la non kan ata misal fe luwa dol mi an ko mantara kam febo mi an ko banna banko maral buko kono woldo anta ne na dipte le kacha ning stakeholder different stakeholder ne kacha we can have round table discussion whereby some of those issues mbakala ko kachaje then from there na sam but nata ko misal fe mana right long sometimes hata misal fe ida state le wala modo yela totinya e maital ne ba fight la nyam we take example of Alaji Borala case kabering Mansakunda ya la nyanto tinya ana mleke ana IGP ni government sue court ana ni natna compensate ko di jamala so ni atra misal fi afana mala right long ibaje ko mi work I go simpa damenta very good as a boy no so ato dal nyental so ana han ka be fo continue nyin kachala ibaje la mume bal na nyanta kamneke ane mune fana nyanta ndol fana fangol
akuma ya tabake comme ñu bari sa dañ de wax ne okay fu mu nekk nii daal maslaha syndrome bi daf ñu rey torop si dëkk bi da nga gis ne nit ki dëggal nga ne education dafa war a free nit ñi dañ war a create awareness NCCE ak yéen tamit da ngeen war a booloo make sure that ngeen create that civic awareness pour nit ñi xam lan mooy seen warugal lan mooy seen responsibility seen àq ak seen yelleef ñu xam ko mu nekk lu am solo waaye tamit in most cases nit ñi dañ dee xam seen àq ak seen yelleef dañ dee xam tamit seen warugal waaye duñ ko dee def daanaka comme dañoo def ji ko maatee daal.
waaw looy wax ni dégg am na ci Gambia bi. te man sama boobu nekk naa li nga xam te ne gis naa loolu noonu waaye loolu moo tax jànga dafa am solo trop pour ñu war a mën a bàyyi suñu xel bu baax a baax def lu la neex même bu nekkul sa affaire yi nguur ak yooyu noonu sax waaye ñun ñëpp dañu war a understand ne comme. maa ngi jégalu mun na am some religious leaders will feel it another way around waaye dam de wane civic ak islam bi ak christianity bi soriante wut because lépp loo fa munti def mu ngi laa ne defal ngir yàlla tax so da ngay gis ne yow sooy defar dara man ma ñëw julde ñëw jël sa mobile bi lor la rek why should I do that because ma feel ne ok kon man mobile bi su ma fa amee naa ko mën a jaay lii waaye lu mu lay loraan ge ndax man gis naa loolu noonu wala bàyyi naa ko xel ndax maybe mobile bi moo lay dundal yow sa famille bi so ñun yeneen saay comme ni ma ko waxoon rek ci kaalama angale dafa am solo pour suñ gisee li nga xam te ne moo ñu métti ñu dem ñu won ko waaye ni ñu koy wonee dafa war a ànd ak yar ak teggin te dafa war a tëddu ci li nga xam te ne mooy loi ñun suñ téere bi tey mooy loi Gambia bi so si loi Gambia bi da ngay gis ne même diine bi si boppam am na yéen ñoom ñu utee waaye am na yeneen nga xam te ne utee wut ndax dafa ne doomi aadama war loo rey nit si sa diine bi yow soo nekkee christian nga nekk muslim mu ngi laa ne bu rey nit te mu laa ne yow doomi aadama bu lor sa moromi doomi aadama so diine bi wax na loolu noonu suñ constitution bi wax na loolu noonu da ngay gis ne yeneen yaam fa yi nga xamante ne ñu ngi ko mun a am bëriwut naka la sax outil bi bëriwut boobu noonu so ñun ñi nga xamante ne ñun ñoo nekk doomi aadama yi ñun ñoo nekk citizens Gambia suñ gisee déggal li nga xamante ne daf ñu métti dañ ko war a bugg di wane waaye saa si nekk rek buñ jël ak xol buñ jël ak tàngoor te buñ jël ñu koy saagoo ndax bu ñuy saaga ak jël li nga xam te ne mooy doole lu bëri bëri dañoo yàq
dafa yàqu rek waaw léegi at this point dinañ ubbi line si pour viewers itam ñu nekk di seetaan ñu mën a contribute si programme bi number bi moo nekk 50 50 505 50 50 505 loolu moo nekk number si dinañ ko display si screen bi in just a moment pour ngeen mën a send in seen contribution si civic education la ñu wax dangaa gis ne ok ñu ne smoking is banned maanaam kenn warut a tux cigarette in less than 100 meters in a place nga gis nga dem si transportation wala nga dem si office yi wala nga dem foo xam ne lopitaan yi wala maanaam sax si police station yi nga gis ñi ñu ngi toog di tux si boori nit yoo xam ne daal xam nañ ne lii it's not something daal is right wala nga gis nit ki ubbi pompe bàyyi ko foofu noonu pompe bi dafa nekk foofu noonu kenn faalewul because lan la nguur baa ko moom nekkul maa ko moom wala nga def places yoo xam ne daal dañoo lekka rek ñu saani te xam nga ne ñu ne saani fu mu nekk nii it's illegal waaye di nga gis ne ñi ngi dañ dee def all of these things waaye the most interesting part moo nekk la maslaha syndrome bi comme nu ma ko waxoon rek si njëlbeen bi ok xam nañ ne smoking in public places is wrong it's illegal xam nañ ne littering is illegal waaye ñi dañ ko dee def waaye daanaka dara du fa dee génn tamit fooguloo loolu tamit moo dita suñ development tamit
waaw sa foofu noonu foog naa man war naa ko rafetal bu baax a baax lu war mooy suñ loi bi ba léegi implementation loi foofu moo nekk suñ problème bi even littering bi nga wane mu ngi si loi bi si boppam because ñu ngi laa wane soo litter sax comme man su ma seenee benn paper war naa fay nothing less than $2,000 wala dama war a spend if I can recall it should be 2 months in prison wala moto yi nga xam te ne ak saret yi nga xam te ne dañ dee jël litter si nii comme su fekkee ne nu moo domee ni ngelaw bi fuuf na ba pare loolu daanu daf ko war a fort su ko fortee within 24 hours dañ ko war a charge so waaye I don't know ndax ñun suñ government bi ndax understand uñ loolu noonu sadly dama bëgg a wax ne comme sometimes suba si
okay there is another caller on the line we will take that and get back to you hello caller good evening maa ngi fine sant yàlla
naka guddi bi
sant yàlla alhamdulillah kan la ak foo ñoo koole
am na solo tuur bi dama koole ba beneen yoon
ok anti yaa ngi ci biir lan mooy sa contribution
am na solo trop
jërëjëf
ma ci amee bi jógee wax léegi nii li mu wax am na solo trop
jërëjëf
parce que dangaa gis ne nit ki dafa liggéey alalam ba am ko sax nga gis saay jógee fale ñëw daanu ci ko am jël alalam waaye léegoo-léeg nga am sa problème sa dem ci police station yi dem ak sa mère expliqué na police yi ñu àttee la doo xam ne du yoon fekk nit ki daf la tooñ
definitely
yooyu yëpp mu ngi nekk di xew ci jamono bi
waaw baax na jërëjëf waay kontaan nañ si sa contribution bi mu nekk lu
war ngeen ci waxtaan trop police yi tam nañuy jox nit yi seen aha because of nit am problème am lu ko naxa te bu jox police bi report am
ok jërëjëf yaa boy kontaan nañ si loolu trop mu doon abe kuma important ngo fokan nenu walen ko ye problem o soto eta police station o to fanan ila yete problem o yemen samaji abu kana solve no okay another caller is on the line hello assalamu alaikum caller
wa alaikum salam na ngeen def
jama rek kan la ak fo ñu caller
waaw man maa ngi jàkkaarloo yéen ni di seetaan programme bi
jërëjëf thank you
waaye programme bi definitely baax na trop
jërëjëf
definitely man ñaari boy yi ak seen coordinator bi jigéen bi
waaw
I like the way they are
dafa mel ni ñaaka nañ kooku waaye jërëjëf kontaan nañ si contribution boobu noonu
ñi kumande la ye kuma info kuma ya batala because lundole mba workshop wala modo bija Africa we are having that discussion with people with disability so do ya foje ako amari nyim bukeje finkintela so ako yala fengola sunya so atata police station pour ka ko ni report ako police station de ka fa ko mi ya sunya tete ya mutana ya samana
just look at that
when you look at that mi ala ko bukeje instead of you creating avenues pour ba la mari la problème ba solve la nyame bara to le you are the implementers of the law so say mo na kan pour ba pour ko ni address e ka fa mari ko teta mari mutana and we all know thinking te wata mari jena mutana that is why within their system, and the investigation the person can describe you go, you do those investigation, but neka mare mutana. In fact, eco found a trauma la so the police also need to adjust on those things. And then sometimes demonstration of the service sector, they need to understand anything family coming ko promo le finti yela bal yela kamfa wala niku ya tandi man sakunda o mila nyantol. But sometimes kaja ni mol finti da ko dolke janal ka kam direct pia yo le futana in tiagazo ye sarka tiagazo. Most of the demonstration mi alon ko amana la banku adol biye wol mu problem ni nata nang atol bije pour comme ka janyu nimba demonstration wala ila ikana loi fanang dan tambito ke so say ni atol bije e kuke.
Okay, there is another caller on the line. Hello caller, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Kan la ak phone your caller.
We are students from LGD. We are watching you live on YouTube.
Oh, thank you for joining. What's your contribution?
Our contribution here is civic education. We are talking about is very important to students.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
We are students from St. John Vianney Bullock.
Okay. You're in. Welcome to the program.
We are watching you live on YouTube. Our teacher is sitting right here. We are watching him too.
Wow, mashallah.
We are very grateful about what you are talking about civic education. For all students that are just learning about civic education, it is a great honor and a great pleasure to thank you guys because
All right, thank you very much for that. We really appreciate it. I mean, that is the whole purpose of bringing this program, is to shed light on these very important things, civic duties and, citizens' rights and their responsibilities and the responsibility of the state towards the citizen. I think that is very, very important. Yeah, so now we have come to the conclusion that there is a problem with both. Both are not fulfilling their responsibility.
I started something and suddenly you just cut me and I could not able to. Okay. And what I was saying is looking at the responsibility of the government, especially sometimes our local governments. It's not all the time government. Like Latrikunda, these days the rain is pouring like cat and rain, you can understand. So the vendors that always sell their stuff, they always sell it at a very, very dirty place. And then people just buy that. You know, you're talking about environment. I am a specialist in environment. I do my project in environment and I know how essential it is. So it is the responsibility of all people, both the government and the local government, to make sure they protect the life and the livelihood of people. Because the air, if it is born, and then when you are selling food and that is not clean, you realize that the life expectancy of the people is going to be reduced. Lamin talked about an area that I want to emphasize. I always cry for this. The way we talk is always a problem. So not only in the police sector, but I can tell you in another sector, if even hospital, if you take a patient there, get yourself that you are going to say your patient bye-bye to the world. So the police also should learn how to talk to people in a way that they can able to at least make people calm, because that is why they are there for the people.
Exactly.
If they understand that they are there for the people, you realize that if somebody come with a problem, you have to calm the person first and then talk to person in an easy way. The hospital, the same thing. Another sectors, teaching field, another way. You know, we need to understand that.
People need to understand that you are there serving the people, and the people who are also coming needs to know that, okay, this is an institution which ought to be respected. So we have to strike that balance and then to be able to come to terms as far as those things are concerned. So I know time it's not on our side, but before we go, talk to us about the initiatives that you have on the pipeline.
Yes, thank you very much. This Saturday coming, by God's grace, we'll be having the graduation ceremony of our first cohort of students that which we have been with them for 3 months. And then the program will be at National Youth Parliament Hall. So that is where we will be having it. So this is the first of its kind that which we are having it, to bring these students from different schools within Region 1 to engage with them on issues that which we are facing, and how best we can be able to have way forward to all of those things. Because when we are able to carve the minds of the younger one in a better direction, we will be able to have a very guaranteed future in the as we progress. So the mentees also, their parents will also be available, and also some of the stakeholders are also invited to come and also grace the occasion. So immediately when we are done with this, our next target will be West Coast in Region 2 to also continue on this work. But yeah, we are still inviting partners to also come forward in ensuring that we continue empowering people through civic issues.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then, sir?
As he rightly mentioned, it is not only the schools that have joined, because we have GTTI and then in fact the Gambia College, because in Gambia College we are having a civic chapter there. Julde, funnily, this training, if I tell you, most of the students from the Gambia College, university, teachers, in fact I can remember almost about 6 different countries, Ghana, Sierra Leone, other countries I forget them, they also applied because we did it online. They said they want to come for this training. So that is just to tell you the importance of civic education.
So now it's a regional initiative.
It's, yeah, of course, it's a regional initiative, yeah.
Okay.
So all what we need is like support, from people, and then we can take it beyond where people expect it to be. And this, of course, cohort, as I said, it is not only going to be the cohort that we are going to organize. The similar cohort will be at Region 2, but also we want to educate or enlighten people on how to write projects. So another training will come back to Region 1, wherein we are going to, train them on how to write projects, and we'll give them institution. Expect some people will come to QTV here, and then you welcome them nice so they can ask you good questions, Yeah, so we will also do this in other regions as well, inshallah, if God will, yeah.
So do you have a QSL line so that you can give out for anyone who wish to support or join the cruise ship?
Yes, my QSL line is 397-1993.
397-1993.
1993.
That is his number. If you have any questions or you want to join the movement, contribute financially, morally, or whatever way, you are free to contact them on this. And like I said, this is a national issue, and we should all endeavor to actually work towards ensuring that we have that civic education awareness in the country. You know,
have QSL, so you can give it to us.
QSL?
Yes.
Okay.
So mine is
3961
368.
3961
368.
368. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming. We wish you all the best in your endeavor, and I know it's possible. Gradually, it's a gradual process. It will take a lot of time, but gradually I am optimistic that we will get there as a country, because that is all we have for you in this edition of the Youth Dialogue, until we come your way next week for another interesting edition. Bye bye, and enjoy the rest of our programs.